Hello, everyone. This video is to help you update your science notebook for 2.5, for week 2.5. That's the second 6 weeks, the fifth week. So let me show you my science notebook. Okay, this is fourth period science notebook, but I'm still going to go to week 2.5. So week 2.5 is about the scientific method using force and motion. So your vocabulary words are question, which is the problem, okay, in your experimental investigation. Hypothesis is your educated guess, or it's a sentence saying, this is what I think is going to happen in an investigation or observation. It's also a prediction. So the definition of prediction could be your hypothesis. You're predicting what will happen. You haven't done the experiment yet. Okay. Then you determine the variable. What's going to be different in your experiment? Is it going to be hot water and cold water? Is it going to be rough or smooth surface? Is it going to be like for our experiment on Thursday? Is it going to be two different types of paper used to form a paper helicopter? Okay, the paper helicopter has to be folded the same way using a notebook paper from your science notebook, and the other paper is going to be a paper from your Think Up book. Those are two different papers. That's the variable in Thursday's experiment. When you do the experiment, you do a lot of observations. This is using your sense of sight, smell, hearing, whatever you need to gather the information. Okay, so usually you're watching things happen, but sometimes you are smelling things, you are hearing things, you're touching things in an experimental investigation. So observations uses your five senses. Then that experiment, it has to be done 3 times or more. You're going to try the first time, try the second time, try the third time. So we call them trials. Okay. You're going to repeat it over and over and over again. Okay. To make sure that your science experiment is true, it's valid. If you just do your experiment one time, I'm going to ask you, do you think it's okay? You think it worked? But if you do this 3 times or more, then if it worked 5 times, then yeah, your experiment's going to have valid information. That means it is true and reliable. I can count on that information. Once you're finished with your experiment, you're going to draw a conclusion, okay, based on all the data that you collected from your observations and your trials. You're going to explain the results and why those results happened. Also, you can clarify, were you correct or incorrect in your hypothesis and why? What were you thinking during your hypothesis and what did you learn in your conclusion after the experiment? Okay, so these are your vocabulary words for the scientific method with force and motion. You turn the page. I did a mini 3-sided board for like a science fair experiment. Okay, so I did the same thing as last week. I turned my notebook to landscaper or it's laying down. I skipped 8 lines and then I drew that black line all the way to the top to make this side of my mini science fair board. Then I skipped 4 lines here to make the other side. I wrote scientific method at the bottom because you are following the scientific method for this experiment. Okay. And our title, paper helicopters. What's the problem? Which paper helicopter will land more accurately on a certain point? Then you write your hypothesis. You answer that question before you do the experiment. So I think that the notebook paper helicopter or the Think Up paper will land better. So you're going to need materials for this experiment. So what you're going to need is one page from science notebook. And that's one clean page. You're also going to need one page from Think Up, because Think Up has a lot of pages at the end of the book. Okay, so if I have my Think Up book right here, here's my Think Up book. At the very end, after the glossary, you have all these pages that are just for notes. They're just for notes, and it says notes at the top. Okay, I'm just going to tear out one of those pages, and that'll be part of my experiment. That's one part of my experiment that I'm going to use. I have to use a Think Up paper page. Okay, and I'm going to use a science notebook paper page. Okay, then I'm going to do the procedure, which is step by step. Now I put here follow the teacher or follow teacher's instructions because on Thursday we're going to follow the teacher's instructions on how to do this experiment and try to answer the question. Okay, so all of these steps will be given to you on Thursday when you log in. Also, when you do the experiment, you're going to do your observations. That means you're going to watch or see or view what actually happens. So when I do my helicopter, and here's my helicopter from the science notebook page. And if you want to know how to make a helicopter, there is a video on how to make a helicopter in the Google Classroom. Okay. So I have this done with the science notebook paper page. Okay, so I'm going to land this helicopter on my target. Okay, so the helicopter has to land on this target. If it does land on this target when I let it go, then I can record that information here on the first time I try it. That's trial one. Then I try it again and I write down what happened. And I try it again and I write down what happened. I do the same thing with my Think Up helicopter. Okay, so I did the same kind of helicopter, the same kind of fold, but I used a different paper, which is the Think Up book paper. Okay, I don't want to change the helicopter because that's a different variable, and I only want one variable, which is the different kinds of paper that I'm using. That's it. Okay. Once I'm finished with the experiment, I have to record what happened. How many times did it work? How many times did it not work? Those are my results. Okay. Once I have my results, I can draw a conclusion, a valid, educated conclusion based on what happened here. And I also can say, was I correct in my hypothesis? Was I not? And why? So I explain that in my conclusion. Then we're going to write the application, like how can I apply this to real life? Do we have helicopters in real life? Yes, we do. Do we have emergency helicopters that have to land in a certain place carefully and safely? Yes. So that's something I can put here in the application. Okay. So you have just 2 pages for your week 2.5 science notebook update. Thank you.